everybody. Welcome to Social Chats, episode 21. We are joined in studio today with Felix Burke, who's a pro mountain biker, and he's going to talk to us about social media marketing and sponsorships. So what does live mean? Live means that you can get involved while our guest is in the studio. You can ask questions. We will pass them along to Felix. And you can also, if you watch the replay, you can ask questions in the comment field on Facebook, and we'll make sure to answer your questions in a timely manner. Now, a quick note about Social Chats. So Social Chats is a weekly live show that Heather and I have put together to help small businesses and people learn from great people who stand out in their industry. What they do works well with social media, and we hope that this show will keep you educated and inspired. So now our guest that you can see here, Felix. Hello, Felix.
Hello.
So Felix is a member of the Canadian national team. He's an athlete on the Rocky Mountain Factory team. He's a commerce student at the University of Victoria. He recently blended his passions for mountain biking and business by launching his own startup that's called Trail Tribe, Trybe. And it's an experience-focused company that consists on 3-day mountain biking camps for kids or youth 9 to 15 years old. He has a wicked Instagram account, felixburke.1, website, felixburke.com, and Trail Tribe as a website as well, trailtribe.com. And here is my sound effects, my favorite part of this show. All right. Welcome, hello. Felix. Hi.
Hi. Thanks, Catherine. Thanks for having me on.
How are you?
Thanks for the warm welcome. Good. I'm good. Yeah. How are you?
Good, good. So thanks for taking the time. Merci de prendre le temps d'être avec nous aujourd'hui. We're gonna do this interview in English, but if you have questions, you can ask them in French as well. So Felix, you're obviously super busy, and meanwhile you find the time to have a really great blog and a website, and you're active on social media. So a lot of people say to us that they don't have the time to handle social media. So I was wondering, how do you do to be efficient about it, and like what's your process type thing?
That's a good question. For me, social media is still not a natural thing. I always feel like I have to think about it and put effort into it. I know people that it just comes naturally to them. But I do have a process that I have to stick to if I want to stay active. And there's room to grow for me in this process. I'm still discovering new things. But my process right now is I like to come up with a story that I want to tell in advance. And so I'll think of a concept in my head before even doing anything. And then I'll jump on the first opportunity I get to capture a moment that could share that story. And so because I just jump on the first thing that comes, the image usually only goes part of the way in telling the story. I should probably mention I use Instagram as my storytelling tool. So the image are super important in Instagram. And so I make up for the lack of a great image that can share the story by trying to think of a good caption. And so after I have the image, I can think of a caption that kind of reflects the image and the story at the same time. And I'll just think of that caption while I'm doing my day-to-day stuff. If I'm in the shower or brushing my teeth or whatever, I'll think about something. I ride my bike a lot too, so you have a lot of time to think. And and once I have a caption in mind, it's just pulling out the phone and putting it together. It's really not that time consuming, but it is an effortful process, and you have to think about it, or at least for me, I have to think about it and plan it ahead of time. But the actual putting together of it is not that time consuming, so anybody can do it.
Huh. So do you use any photo editing software so Instagram is a really like visual platform, so do you use any software in particular, or you just use like straight from your phone?
So my phone, I don't have the best phone, and so the camera isn't that good. So what I normally do is just like mooch photos off of my friends who have better phones. So I'll ask them to take a picture of me or something, and they'll send it to me. And I just use the Instagram editing tools for now. They do the trick for me. But for the camp, I have a DSLR camera that I take with me, and I use Adobe Lightroom, which a friend of mine has on a computer. And I really like that program. I found it was easy to use. And I'd never used it before, and I figured it out in about like 45 minutes. And I find you can really touch up the images really nicely. But I just don't have the resources right now to put all my Instagram photos through Lightroom. So I just use the Instagram tools. Yeah. But eventually it would be nice to have Lightroom as a tool in my toolkit for all my photos. So if I had the resources, I would definitely be using Adobe Lightroom. But at the moment, I just use the Instagram editing tools.
Okay. See, that's really interesting. So can you use Lightroom as an app, or it's on a desktop?
It's on a desktop. I think Adobe has like a set of apps that you can use, but I've never used I've never used the apps.
Okay.
So I just use it on a desktop.
Okay, and I guess as a pro writer, like there must be pro photographers taking photos of you, and I think a lot of athletes, like even if they're just amateur, this is a hard word for me to say, amateur category. So yeah, if pro photographers take photos of you, how do you handle that? Like, can you just, if you see a photo of yourself, say somewhere, can you use it on social media, or what are you supposed to do?
So that's a really good question. Pro photographers, they're making a living, trying to make a living taking photos. And so it's really important to respect that. And also for athletes coming up through non-traditional sports, like biking or skiing or sports that aren't like hockey or football or soccer, photographers are crucial to making it in the sport. And so all the athletes that come through these non-traditional sports really owe a debt of gratitude to these photographers, because they provide us with the content that, is valuable for our sponsors. It's valuable for our image. It allows us to, get some resources to continue in the sport. So I always like to thank the photographers when I see them and try and build a relationship with them and tell them I appreciate their work. And I think that's really important. I think that's valuable, and every athlete should do that, develop relationships with photographers. But the process, normally how it goes is at an event, there will be one or multiple photographers. And after the event, they'll either reach out to you to tell you that they have photos of you, or you have to go out and find their gallery on their website. And then some photographers will give you the photos for free if they think that the exposure you can give them through your Instagram or whatever social media you're using is big enough to get their name out there. But otherwise they'll sell it to you. And so once you have the rights to the image, then you can use it whatever way you want. But it is not okay to just take somebody else's image that they've taken and just use it for your own purposes without asking for them first. Even if it's not a pro photographer, if it's just an amateur photographer, it's still not okay to just take their photo. That's their rights to it. And I think if you build up, as an athlete, if you build up a reputation as somebody who just takes photos without asking and using them, photographers will just stop taking photos of you, because it's a mutual relationship. You're helping them get their name out there, and they're helping you by giving you good content. And so what I do once I have the photos is I give credit as much as I can. Sometimes if I'm getting a whole set of photos and I use them, over a couple weeks on Instagram, I won't give credit on every single photo just because it gets repetitive. And the photos are mine anyways because I've gotten them. But I like to give exposure to the photographers. And also when I get a photo from a photographer, I don't edit it. They're professionals. They know more about it than I do. And so the product that I get from them is just the product that I use. I won't go edit a photo that I got from a photographer in the Instagram or put a filter on it or anything like that. I don't think that's right.
Huh. This is super interesting, because I guess, two things. Basically, you have to give credit where credit is due. You don't take photos without asking, even if it's a photo of you, which might seem weird because you think, well, it's me.
Yeah.
But that's really good. And the editing part is really interesting too, because we do work with professional photographers as well for our clients. And then I always think twice before hitting any button to respect their art. So really, really great points. Now, I think what a lot of people, well, young athletes anyways, are interested in is how does it work for sponsorships? Like, do you feel like as you've been growing as an athlete, do you think that companies have looked at your social media accounts, or have you used social media as an active tool to promote yourself and get sponsorships? Is that something that works?
Yeah, I think as an athlete, that's the biggest thing we think about is how our social media helps us get sponsors. And I think a big thing to remember for athletes is that social media shouldn't be the be all end all to your image as an athlete. I think it should just be a tool that adds value to what you represent as an athlete. Because as an athlete, you basically, if being an athlete becomes your job, you're basically an ambassador for your sponsors. And so I think it's important for an athlete to remember that the ambassador is the person and not the social media page. And so the social media page should be an extension of who you are as a person. And so to answer the question, I think, yes, like social media pages are important in getting sponsors, and companies definitely look at the exposure you get on social media. But it's more of a way, I think, to get your foot in the door or to attract attention than it is a make or break situation. I think a sponsor will look at a social media page of an athlete and consider what kind of exposure they can get. But after that, they'll try to investigate what type of person the athlete is, what kind of ambassador that athlete will be off the social media. And I think the value a company gets from sponsoring an individual outside of the social media is much greater than the value of just sponsoring the social media page. So I think for an athlete, the social media should reflect who you are as an ambassador outside of social media, and not be something totally different that would actually confuse a sponsor. You know, they think they're sponsoring this person that you're showcasing on your social media page, but then when they meet you for real and you're not that person that you're showcasing on your social media, I think that could be a big turnoff for a lot of sponsors. So it's important to use social media as a tool to showcase who you are, but not use it as this is the person that is going to be sponsored, is this social media person.
So I guess you have to be who you are and be genuine in the end, and then social media is just a way for people to find you and see you. So what do you do outside of, so what do you do as a person, say apart from the athlete? Like, are you involved in the community? I know we're going to talk about Trail Tribe later, but on a day-to-day basis, like, are you out and about? Like, how does that play?
Well, so I don't necessarily go out of my way, but when I interact with people, I try to be the best ambassador that I can. And I think being a pro athlete is something that not that many people get to do, and we're really fortunate to be able to do it. And we have a responsibility, you know, to inspire the next generation and give back to the sport. And I just try and hold on to that in any interaction that I have, and use social media as an extension of that, rather than use social media as, you know, that as a whole. And so, yeah, when I have a chance, I like to be involved in the community at races. Even if I'm tired after a race or something, I'll always take the time, you know, to chat with a photographer, or chat with a coach, or you know, chat with your competitor, and just create this kind of, it's supposed to be natural, because at least for me, it's natural because I'm just being who I am. But I always put the extra energy that it takes to be a good ambassador, even if I'm tired, because I feel like it's a responsibility that an athlete has as being a professional in that sport.
Yeah, and stay positive and have
exactly, like when you have an interaction with somebody, the other person should leave that interaction feeling better than when they came into it, is what I think.
Nice. That's how it should be all the time.
Yeah.
That'd be great. So now you're with Rocky Mountain. You're still with Rocky Mountain, right?
Yeah.
Okay. So so do they ask anything of you for your website, or apart from you wearing their colors and so on and so forth? Like, do you have like a social responsibility, like on mobile, on the internet and stuff?
So I'm really lucky because all my sponsors are brands that I really believe in, and brands that share the same values as me, and share the same kind of image that I want to put out there as an athlete. And so it's really natural. I just get to be myself and and still be a good ambassador, because the brands who are supporting me are supporting who I am. And so it's not hard for me I don't have to pretend to be something I'm not. And so I think when you become sponsored, you kind of take on a responsibility of promoting the brand who's sponsoring you, promoting their image and their mission through your platforms. But if they're sponsoring you for who you are, it should just be a natural extension of the story you're telling anyways. But for sure, if somebody's, giving you equipment or giving you money, you now have a responsibility to share their story. And so you have to make yourself post a little bit more, or be more engaged on your social media. But Rocky doesn't ask that of me, but I think it's just expected. And I feel a responsibility to do it, because I really appreciate the support they're giving me, and I want to give back. And so it's never been explicitly said, but I think it's understood by both parties, that we're given, it's a give and take kind of a relationship.
That's that's great. Do you have special hashtags? I know this is super geeky, but did they tell you you have to hashtag this or that, or?
Yeah, Rocky does have special hashtags, but they're pretty witty, so it's fun to use.
What?
So their main hashtag is love the ride.
Okay.
And so that's great, because not only is it a metaphor for, life in general, just enjoy the ride, which I really believe in, but also it relates to biking, just go out, especially professional biking, where, it's about performance and getting the most of yourself. At the end of the day, we're just doing it for fun. And so love the ride just resonates with me, because you're out there enjoying what you love. So that's their main hashtag. But then for each bike that they release, they have special hashtags. So for the Element, which is the cross-country bike, they have the hashtag in your element. Okay. So if you're posting something about the Element, you should hashtag in your element. And then they have another bike, the Instinct, which the hashtag is trust your instinct. And so each bike has its own special hashtag. And then they even have a hashtag for Rocky is all about kind of pushing the limits of bikes. And so they have a hashtag called XC in BC, because the terrain in BC, just the nature of it, is a lot more hardcore than the terrain anywhere else. And so cross country, which is the sport I compete in, is a lot more technically challenging in BC. And so they like us using this hashtag XC in BC to just showcase, how much you can push their bikes in an XC style in BC. So it's cool, because they have a lot of play on words. It's pretty smart hashtags. They're fun to use. They add to the story.
That's okay. So we'll put them in the comments, in the caption, so we can follow those. So what would be your 3 recommendations for young athletes out there that are trying to get sponsorship in general, not necessarily related to social media, just in general? Right.
I think the number one thing, and this is something that all athletes kind of have to learn the hard way, because I remember being, 14, 15, trying to get sponsored and not really being sure how to do it. And it can kind of seem intimidating. And so you kind of fall in these things where you're not sure how to do it. But I think the biggest thing that I've learned is just be authentic. Just be yourself, and, try and give back and create value for everybody around you. And eventually you're going to attract the sponsors that are right for you, because you're not trying to be something you're not, or you're not trying to, you're not pretending. And so you attract the sponsors that are the best fit for you and that will support you in the way that you need to be supported. So I think number one is just be yourself, just trust yourself. Second thing, biggest tip, I think this kind of relates to social media, but you have to reach out to sponsors, and social media is a great tool for doing that, just because it connects everybody. And so you should use social media as a way to attract the attention of sponsors and, let them know what you're up to, let them know ways you can create value for them and why they should sponsor you through social media. And like I said before, that's kind of a way to get your name out there, get your foot in the door. And once they see your presence on social media, then they might want to start knowing who you are as a person, what kind of ambassador you are outside of social media. and that's how they're going to make their decision on whether or not they want to sponsor you. So social media these days is kind of the first step to reaching out to sponsors. And I think another thing, another tip, the third tip I would give is just to actively share your story. Sponsors want to support you for your abilities, for sure. But what really inspires people is not just your abilities, it's your story. It's the kind of adversity that you go through, the kind of challenges you get over to, get better at your sport, or whatever it is you're doing, if it's an artist or anything like that. And so just share your story and share your challenges with people while still being yourself. And I think that'll go a long way in attracting sponsors.
Huh. Great tips. Thank you. So you also have a website and a blog, and Trail Tribe is a website as well. So do you set your website once a year, or is it something you try to update, or what's the value behind the website? So
the website for myself, the felixburke.com, is something that unfortunately I've kind of let slide a little bit, not by choice, but just because I have to give myself other priorities. And so what I do, because I'm in school all year and I'm training and things like that, it's hard to find the time. So with my personal website, what I do is once a year, usually around the month of May or just the start of the summer, I'll do a whole revamp on the website, and any new sponsors that I have, I'll go put on, and I write a little bio for each of my sponsors on my website so that people who go on the website can understand. They don't just see the logo, they see, what the company's all about, their mission, and so give them a bit more insight into my sponsors, and put new photos that I've got throughout the winter. So my personal website, I don't maintain as frequently, but I still, take the time every once in a while to revamp it. The camp website is a little different because the exposure that I get, it's almost the whole 100% of the exposure for the camp. And people need the website to be clean, and they need the website to be organized so that they can find the information, they can register for the camp, they understand what the camp is all about, they can go see the photos from the previous years. So the camp website is something I put a lot of effort in and I'm more meticulous about, just because people are relying on it for information and for being able to access the camp. And so yeah, that's how I maintain my websites. And I use GoDaddy as a server service, and I use Wix to put up my websites. Okay. So you do it all yourself? Well, I put together my personal website myself, but the camp website I've had a lot of help just because there's more things going on. For example, there's a whole page to sign up for the camp on the website, and so it's a little bit more technical, and so I had to go for help. But I have a friend who's really good at that kind of stuff, and she was able to help me. So nice. You always need the good programmer friend, or just you're somewhere in your back pocket. Life is way easier that way. Oh yeah, definitely. So do you want to talk to us about Trail Tribe? I was looking actually on your website and on the Trail Tribe site, and it seems super fun. How about you talk to us about it, how it came about and what it is all about, really? Yeah, great. I would love to talk about it. So Trail Tribe is a camp that I started for kids in 2014. So this will be the fifth year this year that I do it. And the way it started is I was looking for a way to fund my season. And back then I didn't have as many sponsors. And so I did a crowdfunding campaign. But I felt bad just asking for money. And so what I did is I organized this camp, and I told people, if you can help me reach my goal of this crowdfunding campaign, I'll organize this camp for free for the kids. I'll do it for free. And so I tried that, and that's how the first year we had the camp. And then I just fell in love with not just being able to ride with the kids and getting back to the roots of the sport, but also, creating this experience for kids. And, I felt really proud of what I was putting together. So the next year I was more motivated. I put more effort into it. And each year it just continuously progressed. And today, or I guess last summer, we did 3 camps, and each camp had almost 30 kids. What? Yeah. Wow. We had almost 90 kids throughout the summer. There's more coaches involved. the community is getting more involved, and it's really now become this kind of gateway into the sport for the community, which didn't exist before. There was a lot of adults, but there was no really way for the kids to get involved into mountain biking. And the way I got involved in mountain biking or initiated was through the Worka camps when I lived in Whistler.
Yeah.
And so I wanted to, recreate that in Trauma where that didn't exist. And so with some help of my friends, we put together this camp and called it Trail Tribe, and it's just continuously growing. And now it's really becoming more than just a camp for kids. It's almost a way to bring the community together. And I find that really motivating and really inspiring. And I'd like to see it grow in the future for sure.
That's really great. So Worka, for people who don't know, is the Whistler Off-Road Cycling Association, and we are based in Whistler, and we're all part of Worka, and they do a really, really great job for kids. So I'm really glad you were able to take kind of the good bits out of it and recreate it back east. So we're almost to an end already, but so what are your goals for next year? Anything you'd want us to keep an eye on for you, or where can we watch you or follow you?
Well, since we talked so much about Instagram, you guys can follow me on felixburke.1. That's my Instagram handle. Yeah. And that's where I like to share my story as an athlete. And so my goals for this year as an athlete are mostly focused on the domestic scene. I'd like to do really well at nationals and the overall Canada Cup and travel to some races in the States. So you can follow my adventures on my Instagram. And for Trail Tribe, you can follow it on Facebook. The Facebook page is Camp de Vélo. It's in Quebec, so it's got to be French. Yeah. Camp de Vélo Trail Tribe, and Trail Tribe is spelled Trybe. And the reason I spelled it with a Y is because I really care about I didn't want it to be too English because it's a French camp, and so I didn't want to spell it with an I and have both words be clearly in English. So I just put a bit of a twist on it. But you can follow that on the Facebook page or just the website, trailtribe.com. And my goals for Trail Tribe are just to make it more than a camp and create a culture of ownership for the participants in the camp. So this year, I'd really like to see some of the kids who've been coming back for 4 years start taking a assistant coaching role. And I'd also like to see the community come together, the bike shops and some other local businesses, get involved in the camp. So that'll be the goal with the camp this year.
That's great. We'll make sure to promote it as much as we can on our channel. Thanks. And then, okay, we have like 1 minute for the bonus question. So I like to talk about a photo we've put on our channels, this wicked photo of you with this big medal. So what was that? I think it's a bronze medal, but I'm not sure. It looks pretty shiny.
Yeah. I think that was the bronze medal. That's from Canada Games. I won the bronze medal in the sprint that was a few days after the cross-country race. And the cross-country race, I was actually able to win the gold.
Nice.
But the sprint has a lot more variables involved. And so, and also it's a more specific discipline. So I was only able to get third in the sprint. But the story behind the photo is when you get the medal, you also get a little bag to put the medal in the bag. So I didn't want to hold the bag in front of me for the pictures. And so I just kind of slide it in the back of my jersey pocket, which is why my arm is like in a weird position. I didn't know somebody was taking a photo, so I just put it back there. But it's right before the podium ceremony.
Nice. So I'm sure your legs were not tired at all after winning the gold in the other and then doing sprints.
Yeah.
To the podium.
Yeah, it's definitely not something you do every day. Just do a race, then go do some sprints.
Yeah, as we do on the. So well, it's a wicked shot. It looks amazing. You are amazing. We will follow you. We'll make sure to share all your behaviors on our channel. We'll make sure to promote your camp. Thank you so much for joining us. It was a pleasure to have you.
Thanks, Catherine. Thanks so much for having me on. This was great.
Excellent. So this is the end of our episode 21 of Social Chat. If you're watching the replay on Facebook, you can ask questions in the comment fields. We'll make sure to answer them. And we will let you know who our next guest is on Facebook and Instagram in the upcoming days. Thank you so much for joining Social Chats, and we will see you soon.